Hello everyone, Vicentio from HDTV Test here. In this video, I'm going to review the TCL 6 series, the company's most affordable mini LED TV yet. In case you're wondering how I managed to get my hands on this television that's not available for sale in the UK, it was shipped from the USA in a big wooden crate, strapped tighter than Keira Knightley's corset in Pirates of the Caribbean. Our review sample is the 65-inch version, model number TCL 65 R635. We're just grateful that it wasn't the 75-inch version, otherwise a crate the size of a one-bed flat in London would have to be used for shipping. Key features on TCL's 6 series for 2020 include VA-type LCD panel with 120Hz refresh rate, full array local dimming with mini LED backlighting, quantum dot colors, HDR support for HDR10 static metadata, broadcast-friendly HLG, and Dolby Vision dynamic metadata formats, as well as Roku Smart TV platform. But by far the most appealing aspect of the TCL 6 series is its price. This 65-inch television will only cost you $900. In terms of design, TCL has implemented a couple of improvements on the R635 compared with last year's R625. 1. Although the feet are still meant to be placed near both ends of the panel, TCL has provided alternative inner slots on the 65-inch and 75-inch models, so the TV can be placed on a narrower piece of AV furniture. And 2. The company has built a cable management system into the feet for a tidier look, but be warned that if you are using thick HDMI cables, there's probably only enough space for one, at most two cables along each foot. The TCL logo is illuminated by LED underlighting in standby by default, which you can fortunately turn off by going into the power settings page in the user menu. The connections are found on the right side of the display, including 4 HDMI 2.0B ports which support the HDMI 2.1 gaming features of ALLM and VRR, as well as eARC on HDMI 4. The supplied remote control is small and cute, yet still manages to find space for direct access buttons to Netflix, Disney+, Hulu and Sling, not to mention volume rockers on the side. The Roku TV platform is responsive, intuitive and highly customizable, providing convenient access to the HDMI inputs and whichever streaming apps you choose to put on the Roku home screen. Let's move on to picture quality. The TCL 2026 series uses a VA-type LCD panel which is known to deliver deep blacks by LED LCD standards, at the expense of viewing angles. With peak white aligned to 120 candelas per square meter, native black level measured 0.03 candelas per square meter on a 4x4 ANSI checkerboard pattern, using our own custom-authored test pattern containing a small white box crawling horizontally and then vertically against the borders of a black background. We counted 16 vertical columns and 10 horizontal rows, giving us a total of 160 independently dimmable zones. TCL's local dimming algorithm behaved similarly to Samsung's, preferring to sacrifice some shadow detail and small specular brightness to maintain deep blacks and minimize halation artifacts. On the plus side, this strategy kept the top and bottom letterbox bars in CinemaScope movies looking dark, with minimal light bleed from adjacent bright objects, even in challenging HDR movies. However, in other low-light scenes, such as this campfire sequence from The Revenant, the TCL R635 would dim the subtitles and crush some shadow detail to keep blooming at bay. The circumferential vignetting seen on our own ABL or automatic brightness limiter test pattern, containing a rapidly expanding white circle, was also a side effect of TCL's local dimming algorithm, which prioritized reducing blooming at high contrast edges. The aggressiveness of the local dimming on the TCL 6 series is controlled by the local contrast setting. We favored high since low and medium did not offer much improvement in contrast performance over off, according to our testing. For calibration, the 11-point white balance controls and color management system are not available through the TV's picture menu. Instead, you have to access them using the Roku mobile app. Even if you are not going to calibrate your TCL 6 series, you should still install the app on your phone, because otherwise there is no way to change the default noise reduction and gamma settings on the TV. After calibration, Average delta error in SDR mode came in at 1.83 on this demanding color checker SG chart where 140 patches were measured, with more than 5 colors exceeding the humanly perceptible inaccuracy threshold of delta error 3. Nevertheless, colors including skin tones still look largely natural in real-world SDR content. Even with all motion settings off, the TCL 6 series correctly reproduced 24 frames per second movies smoothly without any sign of telecinic judder. Equipped with a 120Hz panel for the first time in the history of TCL's 6 series, the R635 could boost its motion resolution up to 600 lines with action clarity motion interpolation engaged, and even up to 1080 lines with LED motion clarity on. Interestingly, enabling LED motion clarity without action clarity seemed to activate full black frame insertion, leading to uncomfortable flicker, whereas when used in combination with action clarity, it's more akin to backlight scanning, which didn't produce any flicker to our eyes. However, we found a VA panel on our review sample to exhibit obvious black trailing when a dark object traveled across a light background, which partially negated the motion resolution gains from the 120Hz panel. After disabling overscan, the TCL R635 retrieved decent detail from this SMPTE RP133 test card in standard definition resolution, with only minor junk pixels and overshoot, and very little resulting fuzziness. By the way, the default sharpness setting of 20 in the most accurate picture presets on the TV still applied some edge enhancement according to this Luma zoom plate pattern from Spears and Munsell, so it's best to turn it all the way down to 0 for neutral sharpness. Otherwise, the TCL 6 series aced all the key standard def video processing tests by suppressing jaggies effectively, correctly detecting and processing 3:2 cadence, as well as passing full chroma bandwidth natively without needing to toggle additional picture settings. Helped possibly by mini LEDs which can be packed in a denser manner than conventional LEDs, screen uniformity on our review unit was one of the cleaner TCLs we've seen to date, with no significant banding or dirty screen effect on full-field gray slides. Due to the very narrow viewing angle even by VA standards, the sides will look darker with a different tint to the middle, although we must clarify that the tint was exaggerated greatly by our camera. It was less obvious in real-life viewing. For HDR, peak brightness measured just above 1000 nits on a 10% window and 640 nits full field after calibration to D65 white point. TCI P3 color gamut coverage measured 97% UV, while Rec 2020 coverage was an impressive 79%, thanks to quantum dot technology whose spectral power distribution showed beautifully distinct red, green, and blue waveforms. One aspect we dislike about the picture setup on all TCL Roku TVs, including the R635, is that there's a central TV brightness setting which governs the light output from the screen. Yet, this setting carries over from SDR to HDR, and vice versa. Let me explain why this is a problem. To obtain 120 nit peak white for watching SDR content in a dark room, the best TV brightness setting should be darker. However, the setting would stay the same at darker even when you play a piece of HDR content, requiring you to manually go into the picture menu and change TV brightness to brighter before you can enjoy the highest HDR peak brightness. And after doing that, every time you play SDR or standard dynamic range content, you again have to change the TV brightness back to darker, otherwise the picture would be too bright. This is not the first time I've flagged up this issue to TCL, and I sincerely hope that unless there's an uncircumventable restriction in the Roku TV platform, TCL can find a way to automate this TV brightness switching process so that owners don't need to jump through hoops to get the best picture quality for SDR and HDR respectively. With that out of the way, bright HDR scenes looked impactful on the TCL R635 with a nice pop to the highlights due to the lack of automatic brightness limiter or ABL. Like Samsung TVs, the TCL 2026 series adapted its tone curve response based on maximum mastering display luminance metadata, which isn't as precise as other TV brands which use max CLL, but at least it allowed the R635 to retain all bright highlight detail in 4000 nit HDR10 movies, although very rarely we spotted some luminance fluctuations during scene change as the TV sought to recover bright highlights. As far as 10-bit gradation was concerned, the skies in the 4K Blu-ray of The Martian appeared smooth without any significant posterization. Unlike TCL televisions on sale in Europe, the R635 supported Dolby Vision but not HDR10+. We don't think this is an issue at all, given how Dolby Vision has dominated the streaming landscape, whereas HDR10+ has increasingly been struggling to assert its relevance. For gaming, the good news is that game mode could be engaged within each picture preset, allowing for low input lag while preserving the superior contrast afforded by local dimming. With game mode on, input lag measured 19 milliseconds with a 60Hz video signal, halving to a super responsive 9 milliseconds with a 120Hz video signal. Despite having only HDMI 2.0b ports, the TCL 2026 series is actually quite well spec'd in terms of HDMI 2.1 gaming features, supporting ALLM, which will automatically engage game mode upon starting a game from a compatible console, not to mention 1440p at 120Hz resolution and variable refresh rate. Just don't forget to engage the VRR setting once off for the appropriate HDMI input in the user menu. To sum up, the TCL R635 offers outstanding value for money, just like all the 6 series before it. There is mini LED backlighting, 160 zone full array local dimming, quantum dot colors, 120Hz refresh rate, and a host of gaming-friendly features, all for only $900 for a 65-inch screen. We are less enthused about the indistinct shadow detail, VA LCD black trailing and narrow viewing angles. But is there a better 65-inch 2020 TV you can buy new under $1,000? Arguably not, and so the TCL 6 Series Mini LED television receives our recommended Best Value award. If you would like to watch other of our technical TV reviews, I've created a playlist here, and for our technical TV comparisons, here's another playlist if you like to click on it, and I will see you in the next video.